Alrighty, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back. It's been a while since we've done a design class. It's been like 3 weeks or so, or a little more. I've been on the grind with some of my own designs and stuff like that. But I'm back, and we're gonna keep going where we left off at level shifters. So in the past few videos, we first had some background information and like the basics of level shifting, like what is a what does it mean to shift? What is axial? What is the axial plus 2 and stuff like that? What is the axis? I talked about those in the previous video, so if you don't remember that, probably go refresh yourself, watch the videos, or comment or ask me in the Discord or if you don't understand something. And then after that, I had a video about ridge level shifting, which is one way of level shifting. It's probably the less common way, but it's a little bit more straightforward. Make sure to check that out too, but if you don't quite get it, it's okay. It's not super related to what we're doing right now. So today, we're going to do the other type of level shifting, which does not need a ridge, and is the much more common. Usually when people say level shifters, they mean this type. I don't actually know if there's like an official name for it, but yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look. So this one, I think the best way for you to learn it is to actually fold it yourself, get the muscle memory down, get a physical thing you can hold and look at, and then unfold it to learn the crease pattern behind it. I don't think it's super helpful if we just draw the crease pattern and oh, there you go, right? It's not super. It's not. This one is much more hands-on. So because of that, it's going to be kind of like a tutorial today. So I want you to go ahead and grab a square of kami, printer paper, whatever you want, and I want you to make an 8x8 grid. So go ahead and pause the video, make an 8x8 grid, and then let's go. Okay, so I'm going to take my grid and I'm going to start with, I'm just going to start by pleating it up. So I like having the white side out. I think it's just a little bit easier to see. Doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to start by pleating this up. So let's just say this is my base. Okay, I've got a nice simple base. It's just pleated. And let's just say this is my axis. Remember, one definition, kind of like the convention, is that you define the axis as where all the edges are parallel. If it's like a pure axial box pleating, nothing funky going on, the edges should line up on the sides, unless you're like an odd grid or something. But I'm just going to call this axial, this is the axis, and these creases on top is axial plus 1. Okay? So that's good. And my goal is I want to shift the levels up so that I can get some actual height here. So what I want to do is I want to make a perpendicular pleat. What that means is, if my pleats are going this way, I want to make a pleat that's going this way, perpendicular to it. So let's go ahead and unfold that, and I'm going to make a pleat, so mountain here, and a valley right there, like that, and then go ahead and pleat it back up. Now, that might seem kind of weird, right? Doesn't really seem like a flap or river or anything, but pretty soon I will show you how we can incorporate this into a full-on packed model. But for now, let's just ignore that. Let's just see where this goes. So from here, we can actually shift this right side. We can actually shift these levels up. So this pleat has a width of, let's just say it's a width of 1, right? This one pleat, right? We only pleated it once, 1 unit. Nice and simple. So with this one pleat, there's a few different ways we can do a level shifter. So the first way is going to look like this. So to pre-crease it, we can inside reverse fold here. That's what pre-creasing looks like. And then we're just going to kind of, I don't know how to describe it, just kind of pop it up. And that's why it's so important that you're folding along with me, so that you can get the muscle memory down. You can kind of get a feel for the structures in your hand. It wouldn't really make sense if I just drew the crease pattern for you. So now, you see that you look at it, and you see that it actually gained some height. This is now axial plus 2. You see that? And we have this like slope. Now that's cool. That's one way. It's got this, we can analyze them later. The next way is kind of harder to pre-crease, but let's just go ahead and wing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my finger in this pocket here, and I'm going to push on the back here. I'm just going to push in like that. Nice and smooth. And okay, so I'm just gonna look from this angle. So now you see it's kind of the similar thing. It's pretty similar. It's you know, this is now axial plus 2, right? It's been elevated, it's shifted up. So that also functions and works, does what we need. But the difference here is that we got this sharp angle here. It goes all the way out and then straight down, as opposed to, kind of slanting down like this one. So that has its benefits, it has its pros and cons. But typically, there's not many situations where this first version would work better than the second version, because you can just, valley fold it over most of the time, right? So usually if we need to get an axial plus 2, we'll just do it like this, the second way. Now the last kind is, it's a little bit different. So you see how these two first kinds took up like 1 pleat of width, right? This one took 1 pleat, this one took 1 pleat. This last one is going to actually take 2 pleats. What we're going to do is we're going to do this, you see the second one, right? The second one, we're going to do that again on this third one here. Like that. And now what we can do is, now we got a pleat here, which we can actually shift up a third time. So if we have them next to each other, we have these 2 pleats next to each other that have both been lifted up to axial plus 2, we can actually lift up the one in between, and this will reach axial plus 3. So this one is really handy, because with just 1 pleat, we can shift it up all the way to axial plus 3, which, that's like 3 times the width. That's going to be pretty handy. Alright, so at this point, I've shown you like the basics of like the building blocks of what we're going to use, but I don't completely expect you to understand what's exactly going on. So I'm going to do some practice problems, we'll say. They're not problems. It's origami. Origami is not a problem. But some practice challenges before, we're going to do some of these together before I send you off and try some homework challenges on your own. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 16 by 16 grid. So I want you all to follow along. So go grab your kami, pause the video, make a 16 by 16 grid, and come back. And our goal is to make this shape using level shifters. Okay, so go ahead and make your grid, pause, and come back. Okay, welcome back. You got your grid ready. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now I'm just going to say this line down my middle, I'm going to call this the axis. So this is the axis, and that means that this, like all the creases along this line, so these guys here are all axial plus 1, and then this crease would be a plus 2, and then this one out here would be a plus 3, right? Because it's 3, it's 3 units away from the axis, right? And then same thing over here. I mean, you could say that these are -3 or whatnot, but we don't really need to be like that. We'll just, you'll see pretty soon what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and pleat up our grid. Here's our completed grid. I'm going to say that all these creases on the bottom, right, this lower elevation is our axials, and then these creases on top, the higher elevation, are axial plus 1, right? So if I just break it down the middle, I've got my axial crease, right, the valley, this is axial down the middle, right, the edges, down the middle is axial, and on the sides are axial plus 1, and, farther away would be axial plus 2, axial plus 3, and so on, right? Now, we need to make an axial plus 2 crease here. We need to shift from axial plus 1 to axial plus 2. So remember, with this method, whenever we do a level shifter, we need a perpendicular pleat. So if all our pleats are vertical right now, we need a horizontal pleat. And if you ever get stuck on like, okay, well, let's make our pleat. And if you ever forget, like, okay, is it pleating this way? Or is it pleating this way? Like, mountain on the bottom or mountain on the top. Just remember that the higher elevation, this higher elevation needs to be a mountain, right? You know how like mountains are high, like Mount Everest has a high elevation. So remember, this one with axial plus 2 is a higher elevation. So the mountain needs to be on this lower side and the valley on this on this upper side. So let me make a mountain here, and right above it I'll make a valley. So if we do a pleat like this, like that, and then that leaves us with our 1 unit here, or 1 unit here. Does that make sense? Okay, that's good. And let's go ahead and pleat it back up. And I'm going to open it up on the middle. Okay, and let's go ahead and shift our creases out. So remember, the level shifter looks something like this. We're just going to stick our finger inside it and bring the layer out. So I'm going to stick my finger in here, and this crease, which used to be axial, is now going to come out and become axial plus 2, like this. And when it meets the pleat will allow you to transition it. So by sticking your finger in the back here, now I'm doing this completely without pre-creasing, which is it's a little odd. It feels a little bit odd because in the past box pleating videos, our workflow was something like, you know, make a packing, make a crease pattern, draw the crease pattern, fold the crease pattern. But in these exercises for now, we are going to just fold it and then look at the crease pattern afterwards. And I think that's kind of what goes on with test folding. Like that's yeah, we're just gonna kind of wing it, okay? And we'll look at the crease patterns later. So here we go. Yeah, remember we already got this little concave shape here, and let's repeat it on the other side. Now, if it's still not clear why this left side is, I would call this a +2 and not a -2, because if we fold it in half, it's basically the same thing. It's just 2 units above the axis. So unfolding it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, now we want to shift it back down to axial +1. Right, we want to go back down. So 2 units later, so 2 units here, we want to make another shift. So another shift means another horizontal pleat. And I'm going to have the mountain crease on top. Remember, a pleat has a mountain fold and a valley fold. So I'm going to make the mountain fold on top because in this shift, the wider part is on top. So the mountain needs to be on top. So let me make my pleat here. Try not to mess up the previous level shifter. Okay, and now we can shift it back down. So to shift it back down, the sequence is going to feel a little bit different, but it's the same thing. So we're just going to, this crease that's axial +2, let's just make it axial, right? Or axial +1, whatever, right? And then use the pleat to transition it so that you don't get it. See, like if we didn't have that pleat, it would be kind of weird. It would be like, hey, what are we trying to do here? This is not lying flat, right? This is not lying flat. But because we have this pleat, we can kind of pull things, and it will work. See how that thing came down to transition? So it all worked, and there we go. There we got our little, we got our shift, right? We have this now. This like this section here. So let's repeat that on the other side. So again, I'm going to press in the back, and so that it can come down. I assume if you've folded crease patterns before, this level shifter stuff shouldn't be super new to you. It might be kind of familiar. Okay, the next section, we now have these axial +3 things. So same deal. So we need a horizontal pleat here, and we need to have the mountain, like mountain below the valley, right? Because here, this lower section is wider, so it becomes mountain. Now that's just kind of how I remember it. So I'm going to make a mountain. So let's go ahead and make a mountain here. Valley right above it. Okay. Okay, there's our pleat. And now let's go ahead and make our axial plus 3 shifter. So remember that's this. And remember, an axial plus 3 shifter, the way we do it is it's just 2 axial plus 2 shifters. So it's just 2 of these ones, and then we shift the thing in between, like that. So let's go ahead and do that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift this pleat, this axial pleat, now needs to come up to axial plus 2. So basically what we were doing before, like that. And then the one behind it also. So this needs to be a mountain, and that's going to come up. And then this thing, like that. And now we can shift this thing in between. So in between them we got this little pleat. So that we can lift it up, and it's now become axial plus 3. Make sense? So now we got this shape, right? You see the resemblance? Yeah? Okay, now let's repeat that on the other side. So, a single level shifter here. And then another one next to it. Okay, and then, yeah. And if this was the final fold, or if you're, if this was the final fold, you'd probably want to pre-crease these diagonals. But since it's just a Kami test fold, we're just winging it around. There's no need to pre-crease. We're fine. Okay, so now, our last shifter is to get it back down to axial plus 1 at the very end. So again, we need a horizontal pleat, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. And now we're going to shift it down. So shifting down is going to feel a little weird. But if you've had a lot of practice shifting up like this, it shouldn't be too bad. We're going to do the opposite of a single shift. So, or we're going to shift it down one level first. So I'm just going to take this pleat and shift it down like that. And then I can push in on here. Like that. So that shifted it down. This is just like a, this is just a regular one level shifter. It shifts one level. But now I can shift it these two pleats here. So remember when we shifted down from here to there, here to this axial plus 2 to axial plus 1. We're going to do basically the same thing here. So just pull it down, and this little thing should stretch out. You should see this thing come up. Like that. Alright? And let's do the same thing over here. Just pull it down. Something like that. And there we go. We've got, so you see how now we have folded the figure of, our folded figure now looks like the drawing. Hopefully now you kind of understand, like when you see the drawing, what I'm trying to ask you to do to exercise. Before I let you go do some homework challenges, why don't we try this other one? Let's do it like this. So it's the same drill, it's the exact same exercise, but so it's also 16 by 16 grid. This one is a lot trickier, but I want you to go ahead and give this a try on your own. And I want you to see, where do you reach the point that you can't figure it out? And then you want to watch the rest of the video, and I'll show you how we can do this one. Alright, so I believe, the best way to learn math is to do practice problems. The best way to learn a language is to make sentences and practice. And origami is no different. So the best way to learn origami is to do these practice level shifting exercises. So I'm going to, hopefully you gave it a try. There are some ideas in here that you probably, I didn't tell you about, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of hard. So let's go ahead and do it together now. if you did do it, you can skip ahead a little bit and see the homework problems, but or you can just kind of watch and see my solution of it. So, by the way, I didn't draw the crease pattern for the previous homework, but it looks something like this. So these heart-shaped structures, those are the +2 shifters, and these diamond ones are the +1 shifters. So it's pretty cool, huh? So when I first learned level shifting, which was quite a while ago, like Oripa and Orihime were not a thing, or at least I didn't have it. So I kind of drew the crease patterns on graph paper. I think if that helps you out, I think it's good to do that. Like unfold it a little bit and draw the crease pattern. I think that'll help you learn the structure pretty well. Anyways, let's go ahead and do this one. So why not? I'm gonna pleat it the other way this time. So let's go ahead and start up by pleating up our grid. So you might have gotten a new grid, maybe you were lazy like me and just reused the previous one. Either way, we want our grid and we want it pleated up. And we're going to unfold it down the middle, right? And let's go ahead and start from the top. So we see a horizontal pleat here. So hopefully you were able to figure that much out. I know I talked about it a bunch of times in the previous practice problem, how to figure out the pleat, but hopefully you got that. But if not, you can kind of follow along until you get the hang of it. And then this first shift you should be able to do. This part you should be able to do. So on the right side, we're going to do this little +1 shift. +1 meaning because it went from axial +1 to +2. So that's 1 + 1 is 2. 2 is 1 higher than 1, right? Quick maths. So I'm just going to call this a +1 shifter. And I'm just going to extend it all the way down, because why not? And on the left side, we have a +2 shifter, right? Because this is 3, and then this is 1. So over here we need a +2 shifter, right? Because we're going to 2 levels, right? We're going up 2 levels from axial +1 to axial +3. 1 + 2 is 3, so we need a +2 shifter. So again, what that looks like is that just looks like 2 of the +1 shifters next to each other. So here's one of the +1 shifters. Here's one. Let me shift the one next to it. Like that. And then we can shift the thing in between, and that will be our finished +2 shifter. Now it's a little confusing because it's shifting 2 levels, but that results in an axial +3. It's a little confusing. +2, +3. Try not to get too confused. Think of the structures, not the names. And then, what's next? Then we get a little confused. We'd be like, okay, I can see this. We can do a pleat. I can see that. So let's go ahead and do the pleat. So our pleat's like this, right? This is so that we end up with a 2-unit gap between the pleats. But now you probably at this point got kind of confused. Like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do? How do I get it to, +3 on this side and +5 on this side, right? How do you do that? So the trick is we only shifted up 1 layer here. We can actually shift up more than 1. So what I mean by that, let me show you on this side it's a little easier here. So I could just, if I wanted, I could shift up all of these guys. So I'm going to shift up the next pleat behind it, using this, back at this first shifter. I'm just going to repeat on the pleat behind it. And I can do again. Here's the third one. Let's shift up this. Like that. And it made no difference, right? It doesn't really matter. It just doesn't really matter. We can do that, no problem. And now we find we are able to make our +3. Get our axial +3 here. So right here, we can go ahead and shift this up. So shift this up. Like that. And so basically, what I wanted you to get from this practice problem, which you may or may not have figured out on your own, was that you can shift more than just the front pleat, the one that's directly in front. You can shift up all the ones in the back too. These guys that are hiding behind, they make a difference too. Obviously this last one didn't really, we didn't have to shift to this one, but sometimes you'll need a bunch, if that makes any sense. If not, it might make some more sense on this other side. So on the other side, I'm just going to shift up this pleat too. We don't have a whole lot to work with, but let's just give it a try. So let's shift up here. So that's shifted up. Okay, let's shift it up one more time, just to reach the axial plus 3. Right? So there's still not quite enough. So we can actually shift up this on the edge too. It's a little bit weird, but we can just, yeah, we can shift it up this edge too. Right? Okay. Now we have enough room to do another +2 shifter. But remember, so +2 meaning, because this is 5, right? This is 5, and this is a 3. So to get from a 3 to a 5, we need to shift out 2. So we can do our 2 shifter. So remember, a 2 shifter is like it's like this one, right? This one. So let's go. We can go ahead and construct that over here. Okay, and then once we got these 2 +1s, we can shift the one in between, lift that up like that. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Yeah, if you still don't understand this by the end of the video, just leave a comment or contact me in the Discord, and I'll try to explain it again in a future video. Okay, that's awesome. So now let's go ahead and shift. Let's go to the next part. Now we see we're shifting down. We're shifting, this is a -4 shift, right? This is +5, this is +1. We're shifting a -4. How do we do that? Because, this is a or plus -2, going down 2. We know how to do that. -3, I might show you later, but you can actually kind of stretch it with, it looks like a Pythagorean stretch, but kind of not really. It's complicated. But basically, axial +2, a -2 +2, we know that. -3, it's possible. How do we do a -4 shift? So this part might have stumped you also if you gave it a try on your own. But here's the answer. So you see, how many pleats did we need to get from the starting point, this axial +1? How did we get to this axial +5 in the first place? We had one pleat here to get us up to axial +3, and we had another pleat to get us to axial +5. So the key is that you can actually do 2 pleats. 2 pleats, a one horizontal pleat can only get you up to axial +3, or I should say a +2 shifter. This one horizontal pleat can only get you to, at most, +2. But if we have 2 horizontal pleats, that's 2 times 2, and we can get up to +4 or -4. So I'm actually going to make, instead of pleating once like that, I'm going to go ahead and pleat it again. Because we have 2 pleats going up and 2 pleats going down now, so it makes sense. Look at that. You see that? Okay, and let's do this left side. It's pretty easy. So this left side, I'm going to go ahead and shift it down. Now we can shift it down on the sides again. So like this. And then this other one, also shift it down. And there we go. Cool? Yeah, so there's our right side. Now this left side is going to be one big level, or +4 level shifter. +4, -4, right? It's just a matter of which way you're going. So let's start with this first layer. So here's this top pleat. I'm going to shift it down 1. like that. That's down one. And then I can shift these two pleats down another one, so like this. So now that pleat's gone down. Now the pleat behind it, I'm also going to bring it down, shift it down. Let's keep shifting. We're going to shift all the way down four levels. Like that. Yeah? Okay. Now let's shift it again. So, you see that? Right? Okay, and shift the next one. All right, we're almost there. One more level down to shift. So this edge is it's not really a level shifter, but it kind of is. Kind of that swivel is kind of a level shifter, kind of not really. But then these pleats here, we just shift them down, and then the next one, shift it down. Again, this will be super easy if you pre-creased it, but since we're kind of just winging it, we will not pre-crease it. And I think that's it. Look at that. See how that looks like the picture? That's mad cool, huh? That was the second practice problem. Hopefully you kind of learned another tricks. The two tricks you should have learned from this practice problem, beyond the basics, is one, that you can shift up all the layers in the back, and two, that you can do double pleats to shift more. So if you needed an axial, let's say you were going crazy. You wanted an axial plus, let's see, here's one, and then you wanted like some sort of axial plus 6, something axial plus 6, right? That's crazy. You would use 3 pleats because every pleat will give you plus 2 more away from axial plus 1. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, just fiddle around until you get it. That's all I can say. Because honestly, like, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not actually a plant psychologist. I'm not a human psychologist. So I don't quite know how far along you guys are, how well you guys understood what I'm talking about, whether this made any sense or not. So, your feedback actually makes a huge difference. Your comments or Discord participation, it makes a huge difference. If it doesn't make any sense at all, please let me know. I'll do something to make sure you understand. If it does make sense, I want you to try the homeworks and then post your solutions in the Discord so I can see that you do know your stuff and we're ready to move on. So here are the 4 homework challenges I'll give you. This first one should be pretty straightforward. I don't think it's too difficult. This next one, I'll give you a quick hint. So you're going to need to be shifting all the pleats in the back like that to finish this one. This one is a bit of a challenge. There's things behind the shifters that you can't see in the drawing that you need to do. That's your hint. Okay, I'll just tell you the hint. So for this one, the hint is going to be this. So you can actually move the pleats. You can shift the pleats around in the back. Right, like this. Right. You can kind of shift them around and then you can do stuff with that. So that's your hint for this one. And this last one is a challenge. I don't even know if I drew it correctly. I think I did. But this one's actually pretty hard. So don't feel bad if you can't make this one. And then all of these 4 can be done, or actually are supposed to be done on a 16 by 16 grid. Okay? So if you did it on a 16 by 16 grid, that's how you know you did it correctly. Well, so I actually went ahead and solved the crease patterns for myself and folded them in Origami, and here we are. So if you're in the design server, I'll have a screenshot of this posted, or you can just pause the video and use this. So actually I had misdrawn the yellow one and the blue one. This yellow one is actually a little bit harder than I had anticipated, but they're all still doable from a 16 by 16 grid. And if you get really stuck, you can DM me and I can just show you my solution if you want. But the reason why I'm giving you these 4 and these 4 in particular is because, especially like the green one, it has like a few extra tricks that I don't really have the time to talk about, but I think you can figure them out. it's like a puzzle basically. It's not supposed to come easily. You have to fiddle around with it in physical. So, but give it a shot, all right? And I think you'll learn a lot just from practicing these. And then once you get the hang of this, it's not too hard to go and start making your own new designs with pure level shifters, or almost pure. For example, a while ago I made this really simple potato, and this potato is basically, we got these two horizontal pleats, and then we got this one axial plus 4 level shifter, and then we just got these align stretch for the leaves, and that's basically it. And it looks like this. So it's like a little nothing, but with just level shifters and some basic align stretch, like we have a whole new design. Right, so you can go ahead and give stuff a try. I think you know more than just a potato amount, so you should be able to get some interesting stuff. Just be creative, give it a shot. And then once you get like really good at this, at level shifters, like pure level shifting is basically what unaxial box pleating is. So for example, here's the bison, which is based off of Shuki Kato's bison, but this is not a tilted grid, so it's like a different version. And it's a little bit hard to explain, but it's very similar to level shifting. Like for example, you see we got some of those heart-shaped structures going on right around here. Some of the diamond structures you'll see, a lot of it just looks kind of similar. And then, of course, when you fold it up, it looks like this. This is my fold of it. And this, as it turns out, is actually like one step away from tilted grid, which is really exciting. So if you can get good at this kind of level shifting stuff, making these little two-dimensional patterns, you're on your way to tilted grid. And of course, regular axial box plating will incorporate it in. Things like the shells of insects and stuff like that will have these kinds of patterns and stuff. So that's overall really good stuff, really handy to learn and get good at. So definitely give it a shot. And yeah, I think that's about it for now. Make sure to subscribe, because the next videos will be combining things, connecting things we already learned. So you definitely don't want to miss the next few videos. Join the link in the description for the Discord if you haven't already. That's where all the discussions happen, and that's where most of the learning takes place. We got some interesting challenges and stuff, and a good helpful community. And if the video helped you, make sure to leave a like, share it with other people. Those all really help. Alright, thanks for watching everyone. I will see you next time.